Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world with me, Deepika, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to address the nation in a short while from now. India's Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal to visit US on the 22nd of September to take forward trade deal talks. White House issues clarification to its new H-1B visa policy, says new fee applicable for fresh applications and not for existing holders. US President Donald Trump issues stern warning to Afghanistan, says bad things going to happen if Bagram Air Base not returned. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Arunachal Pradesh and Tripura on the 22nd of September. During his day-long visit to the northeastern states, Prime Minister Modi will lay the foundation stone of multiple development projects in Arunachal Pradesh. Harnessing the vast hydroelectric potential and promoting sustainable energy generation in the region, Prime Minister Modi will lay the foundation stone of two major hydropower projects in Itanagar. Both the hydroelectric projects will be developed in the Siom sub-basin of Arunachal Pradesh. Prime Minister Modi will also lay the foundation stone of state-of-the-art convention centre at the Wang. The centre will serve as a landmark facility to host national and international conferences, cultural festivals and exhibitions. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also launch multiple key infrastructure projects catering to various sectors including connectivity, health, fire safety, working women hostels, among others. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also interact with local taxpayers, traders and industry representatives to discuss the impact of the recent GST rate rationalization. Prime Minister Modi will later pay a visit to the northeastern state of Tripura. In line with his commitment to promote and preserve the spiritual and cultural heritage of India, Prime Minister Modi will inaugurate the development work of Mata Tripura Sundari Temple Complex at Matabadi. It is one of the ancient 51 Shakti Peeths located in Udaipur town of Gomati district in Tripura. The project will lay a significant role in boosting tourism, creating employment and business opportunities and leading to overall socio-economic development of the region. And marking the beginning of Durga Puja and Navratri celebrations, Mahalaya, also known as Mahalaya Amavasya, is being celebrated across India today. Now, this day marks the end of the Pitru Paksha period when Hindus pay homage to their ancestors and mark the beginning of the homecoming of Goddess Durga. It signifies the transition from honouring ancestors to the festive period leading up to Durga Puja. One of the most significant rituals associated with Mahalaya is the painting of the eyes of Goddess Durga, which officially kickstarts the 9-day-long Durga Puja rituals. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Sunday wished the nation on the occasion of Mahalaya. Taking to X, he said, and I quote, "Wishing you all Shubha Mahalaya. As the sacred days of Durga Puja draw near, may our lives be filled with light and purpose. May the divine blessings of Ma Durga bring unwavering strength, lasting joy and wonderful health." Unquote. So this has been the tweet come up by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and in a very short while from now, let's go live to PM Modi's address.
मेरे प्रिय देशवासियों, नमस्कार। कल से शक्ति की उपासना का पर्व नवरात्रि का आरंभ हो रहा है। आप सभी को बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। नवरात्रि के पहले दिन से देश आत्मनिर्भर भारत अभियान के लिए एक और महत्वपूर्ण और बड़ा कदम उठा रहा है। कल यानी नवरात्रि के प्रथम दिवस 22 सितंबर को सूर्योदय के साथ ही नेक्स्ट जनरेशन जीएसटी रिफॉर्म्स लागू हो जाएंगे। एक तरह से कल से देश में जीएसटी बचत उत्सव शुरू होने जा रहा है। इस जीएसटी बचत उत्सव में आपकी बचत बढ़ेगी और आप अपनी पसंद की चीजों को और ज्यादा आसानी से खरीद पाएंगे। हमारे देश के गरीब, मध्यम वर्गीय लोग, न्यू मिडिल क्लास, युवा, किसान, महिलाएं, दुकानदार, व्यापारी, उद्यमी सभी को ये बचत उत्सव का बहुत फायदा होगा। यानी त्योहारों के इस मौसम में सबका मुंह मीठा होगा। देश के हर परिवार की खुशियां बढ़ेगी। मैं देश के कोटि कोटि परिवारजनों को नेक्स्ट जनरेशन जीएसटी रिफॉर्म्स की और इस बचत उत्सव की बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं, शुभकामनाएं देता हूं। ये रिफॉर्म भारत की ग्रोथ स्टोरी को एक्सेलरेट करेंगे, कारोबार को और आसान बनाएंगे, निवेश को और आकर्षक बनाएंगे और हर राज्य को विकास की दौड़ में बराबरी का साथी बनाएंगे। साथियों, जब साल 2017 में भारत ने जीएसटी रिफॉर्म की तरफ कदम बढ़ाया था, तो एक पुराना इतिहास बदलने की और एक नया इतिहास रचने की शुरुआत हुई थी। दशकों तक हमारे देश की जनता, आप सभी लोग, देश के व्यापारी अलग अलग टैक्स के जाल में उलझे हुए थे। ऑक्ट्रॉय, एंट्री टैक्स, सेल टैक्स, एक्साइज, वेट, सर्विस टैक्स, न जाने भांति भांति के दर्जनों टैक्स हमारे देश में थे। एक शहर से दूसरे शहर माल भेजना हो तो न जाने कितने चेकपोस्ट पार करने होते थे, कितने ही फॉर्म भरने पड़ते थे, कितनी सारी रुकावटें थी। हर जगह टैक्स के अलग अलग नियम थे। मुझे याद है जब 2014 में देश ने मुझे प्रधानमंत्री पद का दायित्व सौंपा था, तब उसी शुरुआत के दौर में एक विदेशी अखबार में एक दिलचस्प उदाहरण छपा था। उसमें एक कंपनी की मुश्किलों का जिक्र था। उस कंपनी ने कहा था कि अगर उसे बेंगलुरु से 570 किलोमीटर दूर हैदराबाद अपना सामान भेजना हो तो वो इतना कठिन था कि उन्होंने सोचा और उन्होंने कहा कि वो पसंद करती थी कंपनी कि पहले अपना सामान बेंगलुरु से यूरोप भेजें और फिर वही सामान यूरोप से हैदराबाद भेजें। साथियों, टैक्स और टोल के जंजाल की वजह से ये तब के हालात थे। और मैं आपको सिर्फ एक पुराना उदाहरण याद दिला रहा हूं। तब ऐसी लाखों कंपनियों को, लाखों करोड़ों देशवासियों को अलग अलग तरह के टैक्स के जाल की वजह से हर रोज परेशानी होती थी। सामान को एक शहर से दूसरे शहर पहुंचने के बीच जो खर्च बढ़ता था वो भी गरीब को उठाना पड़ता था। आप जैसे ग्राहकों से वसूला जाता था। साथियों, देश को इस स्थिति से निकालना बहुत जरूरी था। इसलिए जब आपने हमें 2014 में अवसर दिया तो हमने जनहित में, देश हित में जीएसटी को अपनी प्राथमिकता बनाया। हमने हर स्टेक होल्डर से चर्चा की। हमने हर राज्यों की हर शंका का निवारण किया, हर सवाल का समाधान खोजा। सभी राज्यों को, सबको साथ लेकर आजाद भारत का इतना बड़ा टैक्स रिफॉर्म संभव हो पाया। ये केंद्र और राज्यों के प्रयासों का नतीजा था कि देश दर्जनों टैक्सों के जाल से मुक्त हुआ और पूरे देश के लिए एक जैसी व्यवस्था बनी। वन नेशन वन टैक्स का सपना साकार हुआ। साथियों, रिफॉर्म एक अनवरत चलने वाली प्रक्रिया होती है। जब समय बदलता है, देश की जरूरत बदलती है, तो नेक्स्ट जनरेशन रिफॉर्म भी उतने ही आवश्यक होते हैं। इसलिए देश की वर्तमान जरूरतों और भविष्य के सपनों को देखते हुए जीएसटी के ये नए रिफॉर्म्स लागू हो रहे हैं। नए स्वरूप में मुख्य रूप से अब सिर्फ 5% और 18% के ही टैक्स स्लैब रहेंगे। इसका मतलब है रोजमर्रा के इस्तेमाल की ज्यादातर चीजें और सस्ती हो जाएगी। खाने पीने का सामान, दवाइयां, साबुन, ब्रश, पेस्ट, स्वास्थ्य और जीवन बीमा, ऐसे अनेकों सामान, अनेकों सेवाएं या तो टैक्स फ्री होगी या फिर केवल 5% टैक्स देना होगा। जिन सामानों पर पहले 12% टैक्स लगा करता था, उसमें से 99% यानी करीब करीब 100 के निकट 99% चीजें अब 5% टैक्स के दायरे में आ गई है। साथियों, पिछले 11 साल में देश में 25 करोड़ लोगों ने गरीबी को हराया है, गरीबी को परास्त किया है और गरीबी से बाहर निकल करके 25 करोड़ का एक बहुत बड़ा समूह नियो मिडिल क्लास के रूप में आज देश के अंदर बहुत बड़ी भूमिका अदा कर रहा है। इस न्यू मिडिल क्लास की अपनी एस्पिरेशंस हैं, अपने सपने हैं। इस साल सरकार ने 12 लाख रुपए तक की इनकम को टैक्स फ्री करके एक उपहार दिया। और स्वाभाविक है, जब 12 लाख रुपयों का इनकम टैक्स में राहत हो जाए तो मध्यम वर्ग के जीवन में तो कितना बड़ा बदलाव आता है, कितनी सरलता सुविधा हो जाती है। और अब गरीबों की भी बारी है, न्यू मिडिल क्लास की बारी है। अब गरीब को, न्यू मिडिल क्लास को एक तरह से डबल बोनांजा मिल रहा है। जीएसटी कम होने से अब देश के नागरिकों के लिए अपने सपने पूरे करना और आसान होगा। घर बनाना, टीवी, फ्रिज खरीदने की बात हो, स्कूटर, बाइक, कार खरीदना हो, ये सब पर अब कम खर्च करना होगा। आपके लिए घूमना फिरना भी सस्ता हो जाएगा, क्योंकि ज्यादातर होटल्स के कमरों पर भी जीएसटी कम कर दिया गया है। वैसे साथियों, मुझे इस बात की खुशी है कि दुकानदार भाई बहन भी जीएसटी रिफॉर्म को लेकर बहुत उत्साह में हैं। वो बहुत जीएसटी में हुई कटौती को ग्राहकों तक पहुंचाने में जुटे हुए हैं। बहुत सारी जगहों पर पहले और अब के बोर्ड लगाए जा रहे हैं। साथियों, हम नागरिक देवो भवः के जिस मंत्र के साथ आगे बढ़ रहे हैं, नेक्स्ट जनरेशन जीएसटी रिफॉर्म में इसकी साफ झलक दिखाई देती है। अगर हम इनकम टैक्स में छूट और जीएसटी में छूट को जोड़ दें तो एक साल में जो निर्णय हुए हैं उससे देश के लोगों को 2.5 लाख करोड़ रुपए से ज्यादा की बचत होगी। और तभी तो मैं कह रहा हूं, ये बचत उत्सव है। साथियों, विकसित भारत के लक्ष्य तक पहुंचने के लिए हमें आत्मनिर्भरता के रास्ते पर चलना ही होगा। और भारत को आत्मनिर्भर बनाने का बहुत बड़ा दायित्व हमारे एमएसएमईज यानी हमारे लघु, मध्यम और कुटीर उद्योगों पर भी है, जो देश के लोगों की जरूरत का है, जो हम देश में ही बना सकते हैं, वो हमें देश में ही बनाना चाहिए। साथियों, जीएसटी की दरें कम होने से नियम और प्रक्रियाएं और आसान बनने से हमारे एमएसएमईज, हमारे लघु उद्योगों को, कुटीर उद्योगों को बहुत फायदा होगा। उनकी बिक्री बढ़ेगी और टैक्स भी कम देना पड़ेगा, यानी उनको भी डबल फायदा होगा। इसलिए आज मेरी एमएसएमई से लघु उद्योग हो, सूक्ष्म उद्योग हो, कुटीर उद्योग हो, आप सबसे बहुत अपेक्षाएं हैं। आपको भी पता है, जब भारत समृद्धि के शिखर पर था, तब भारत की अर्थव्यवस्था का मुख्य आधार हमारे एमएसएमईज थे, हमारे लघु और कुटीर उद्योग थे। भारत की मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, भारत में बने सामानों की क्वालिटी बेहतर होती थी। हमें उस गौरव को वापस पाना है। हमारे लघु उद्योग जो बनाए वो दुनिया में हर कसौटी पर बेस्ट हो, उत्तम से उत्तम हो। हम जो मैन्युफैक्चर करें वो दुनिया में आन बान शान के साथ बेस्ट के सारे पैरामीटर को पार करने वाला हो। हमारे प्रोडक्ट्स की क्वालिटी दुनिया में भारत की पहचान बढ़ाए, भारत का गौरव बढ़ाए। हमें इस लक्ष्य को लेकर काम करना है। साथियों, देश की स्वतंत्रता को जैसे स्वदेशी के मंत्र से ताकत मिली, वैसे ही देश की समृद्धि को भी स्वदेशी के मंत्र से ही शक्ति मिलेगी। आज जाने अनजाने हमारी रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी में बहुत सी विदेशी चीजें जुड़ गई है, हमें पता तक नहीं है। हमारे जेब में कंघी विदेशी है कि देसी, हमें पता ही नहीं है। हमें इनसे भी मुक्ति पानी होगी। हम वो सामान खरीदें जो मेड इन इंडिया हो, जिसमें हमारे देश के नौजवानों की मेहनत लगी हो, हमारे देश के बेटे बेटियों का पसीना हो। हमें हर घर को स्वदेशी का प्रतीक बनाना है, हर दुकान को स्वदेशी से सजाना है। गर्व से कहो ये स्वदेशी है, गर्व से कहो मैं स्वदेशी खरीदता हूं, मैं स्वदेशी सामान की बिक्री भी करता हूं। ये हर भारतीय का मिजाज बनना चाहिए। जब ये होगा तो भारत तेजी से विकसित होगा। मेरा आज सभी राज्य सरकारों से भी आग्रह है, आत्मनिर्भर भारत के इस अभियान के साथ, स्वदेशी के इस अभियान के साथ अपने राज्यों में मैन्युफैक्चरिंग को गति दे। पूरी ऊर्जा से, पूरे उत्साह से जुड़े, निवेश के लिए माहौल बढ़ाएं। जब केंद्र और राज्य मिलकर आगे बढ़ेंगे तो आत्मनिर्भर भारत का सपना पूरा होगा। भारत का हर राज्य विकसित होगा, भारत विकसित होगा। इसी भावना के साथ मैं फिर एक बार इस बचत उत्सव की अनेक अनेक शुभकामनाएं देते हुए अपनी बात समाप्त करता हूं। एक बार फिर आप सबको नवरात्रि की, जीएसटी बचत उत्सव की बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
So that was Prime Minister Narendra Modi's address to the nation, where he wished everyone on Navratri and GST's Bachat Utsav. He said that from the first day itself, India will be ready for Atmanirbhar Bharat, which is self-reliant India, with the announcement of the next-gen GST reforms on the first day of Navratri itself. That begins from the 22nd of September. Now, the next-gen GST reforms will be active from tomorrow onwards, which can be seen and observed as Bachat Utsav, which is a celebration of savings for the common people. And in this Bachat Utsav, people will be able to easily buy the items they desire. Now, this Bachat Utsav will benefit Yuva, Kisan, the farmers, women, entrepreneurs, and everybody will benefit from this particular next-gen GST reform or the next-gen Bachat Utsav. So, in this festive season, it will also come as a good news for all, Prime Minister said, and he also congratulated all on this next-gen GST reform, or the Bachat Utsav, and he said that this reform will accelerate the growth story of India and make business easy in investments attractive, and every state will be equally involved in the run-up to become a developed nation. Now, this GST reform began in the year 2017 with an aim to rewrite the history. And he said that for decades, all the Indians were entrapped in different sort of taxes. From one state to another, so many checks posts had to be crossed due to different laws of taxes. And he also mentioned about 2014 when he became the Prime Minister that one of the foreign newspaper mentioned about the complex nature of businesses due to various taxes that one has to go through. So he also said that we got everyone together to make independent India's new tax reform possible, because that came as a very important point, a very important highlight in front of the Prime Minister when he took the position in the year 2014. He also highlighted that one nation, one tax is now a reality in the present year, which is 2025. So talking about the GST reform, only 2 tax slabs mean that daily essentials will be cheaper. This includes medicines, insurances, etc. Prime Minister also mentioned that this new middle class has its own aspirations and dreams. So the poor, neo middle class and middle class are getting a double bonanza with this Pachat Utsav of the next gen GST reform, which will be of low cost, high impact value. So travel, boarding and lodging will be also benefited, because GST have been lowered for many of the hotels as well, benefiting this particular sector as well and the tourists. And talking about the shop owners, the small shop owners, he said even the shop owners are also very happy about it. And he further said that Nagrik Devo Bhava, India is moving forward with this particular mantra in its road to become a developed nation. And in order to make India developed, India have to move on the path of self-reliance. He also appealed everyone to make all the items in India which can be made in India. So the next gen GST reforms is also a boost to MSMEs. And he said that India has a lot of expectations from the MSMEs, and MSMEs have played a key role in India's growing prowess. He also mentioned about Swadeshi, which will be the key mantra for India's economic prowess. He also mentioned about vocal for local, made in India, make in India, self-reliant India, which all gets a major boost with the next gen GST reforms. And to get you more on this, I am joined by Mr. Sanjay Kumar Singh, who is a senior journalist. Also joining us at this broadcast is Mr. Anil Padmanabhan, who is a senior economic journalist. A very good evening to both. First of all, coming on to you, Mr. Sanjay Kumar Singh, giving a boost to vocal for local, keeping in mind India's path to become a developed nation by the year 2047. The aim, the vision began in the year 2014 itself, well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi saw that very article in one of the foreign newspapers, how it criticized India's tax reforms and the complexities involved in it. How do you see the developmental journey India has witnessed, and now in the year 2025, we are more reliant, and one nation, one tax stands as a bright reality?
See, one vocal for local and one district, one particular product. This is rooted in the very idea that India's traditional economy, the MSME sector and handicraft sector, India had its own mark, and therefore rooting for it, it was also time to kind of boost Atmanirbharta by giving economic empowerment to people in their region concerned, and therefore migration was a big issue, and that tackles that particular issue. Coming to your point. Since this GST was implemented on 1st July 2017, and then also when some concerns were raised, it was said by the government that let this begin now, and whatever problems and whatever we as and when we realize that certain reforms are needed, we'll go for that. And we have seen incremental reforms since then. This is a big bang reform. Club with last year's budget, where middle class got a relief in income tax, and now this. Prime Minister coming on this occasion and talking about, of course, the thing he talked about, goods movement from Bangalore to Hyderabad. That particular thing has been is recirculating on social media once again. And there were actually practical problems from moving things from one state to another. There is a social message in it, there is a political message in it, and there is also a great deal of economic message in it. Because as we talk about Atmanirbharta, self-reliant India, and also kind of boosting our manufacturing and boosting consumption, this is a huge step forward Prime Minister coming on this occasion, something he promised on 15th August, and something which is going to be implemented from tomorrow, uh, after 12 a.m. tonight. By coming himself to address to nation, to make a address to nation, he has taken this ownership of this reform, and I'm sure more reforms will be forthcoming.
Coming on to you, Mr. Anil Padmanabhan. Now, when Prime Minister said that he saw the article back in the year 2014, and in 2017, we got the beginning of the GST reforms. And before completing my question, I would also like to welcome Mr. Ajay Sahai, who's the DG and CEO of FIEO. Thank you so much for joining us at this broadcast. So, coming back to you, Mr. Padmanabhan, when we look at the complexities of that particular year as compared to the current year, when Prime Minister clearly said that the mantra is Nagrik Devo Bhava, benefiting different sectors of the society, including Yuva, which is the youth, the farmers, the women, and especially with the focus on MSMEs. How difficult was it for the previous government to make it this simple for the citizens that the current government has done so far?
See, just to understand the scope of the GST reform, we must understand that prior to GST, in the VAT regime that prevailed, there were 36 tax jurisdictions, 17 taxes, and 13 cesses. Now, all of them were collapsed into one tax, which was why the Prime Minister said one nation, one tax. Yes, within that one tax, there were several slabs, but that was the same slab in every state, in every district, in every part of India. It was not that there was another tax rate prevailing in Madhya Pradesh, another one in Rajasthan, and so on. So, which is why the Prime Minister alluded to the fact that this French paper talked about the immense impact that it will have on logistics and transport costs. The World Bank estimates the savings to be 30 to 40% because of the introduction of GST. So, which is why when you look back over the last, say, 8 years of the GST, you see this dramatic improvement in the economic productivity of this nation. And what has been put in place from midnight tonight is a further reform of what was already the biggest ever indirect tax reform undertaken by India. So, since, like the PM explained, most of these taxes have been brought down in what are daily consumption items and also aspirational goods for the neo-middle class, what he rightly described, and even the middle class. India is a nation of raging aspirations. Our young demography combined with growing incomes is creating a momentum that has never been witnessed before. If you look back, it was the Bajaj Chetak in the 70s which dared the middle class to dream. And for the next decade, we were dormant till the Maruti car came. Now, that's no longer the case. Almost every year, every month, you see some middle class aspiration realized.
And also now coming on to you, Mr. Ajay Sahai, being the DG of the Federation of Indian Export Organization, here we would like to understand the benefit that the traders are going to get from this particular next-gen GST reform. And before coming on to that, I would also like to, point out one of the line that the newspaper mentioned, which Prime Minister Narendra Modi mentioned that he came across in the year 2014. And that news article said that at present, which was back in the year 2014, the cost of logistics for Indian manufacturers is often more than the entire wage bill. Now, this is a huge statement, more than disregarding, giving a very disrespect sort of a situation for the traders coming in from other countries to India or making trade a very smooth process. How do you look at the situation as compared to 2014 to the current and present year?
You look into the logistics sector. Prior to the GST, we had the CST, which was not rebated. Companies were setting warehouse in every state to get the benefit of the CST or save the CST. Now, once the GST has came and on interstate movement, we have the complete rebating of IGST. Today, warehouses are being set up at the most strategic location where they have the necessary volume, and it has reduced the cost of logistics. Now, if you look into the trucks in India, now with the coming of the e-way bill and better toll plaza management, and Indian trucks right now is covering around 650 to 700 kilometers a day. as against around 300 to 350 kilometers a day. And that has brought the logistics cost substantially down from 13 to 14% to around 10 to 11%. And I'm pretty sure it will come down drastically in times to come. On other hand, we are also seeing that with the cascading effect of the taxes being mitigated under the GST, the cost of the input has also gone down substantially. And now in GST 2.0, we are seeing that a lot of slabs have been merged. And for me, the most remarkable is the probably the journey towards a two-tier GST. We have moved to two slabs, basically 5% and 18%. Of course, we have a slab of the demerit goods also, which is 14%. But as we move along, I personally feel that probably 40% may go and most of the goods will be in 5%, 18%, as told by the Prime Minister. Roughly over 90% of goods are under the 5% slab, and this itself is a big achievement. I don't foresee that we're moving towards a single tier GST, looking into the wide disparity of income among the people. But I think the remarkable part of the Prime Minister was on two things where he highlighted on the Atmanirbhar and Swadeshi. Still, even if you are looking into the Indian import profile, energy import is quite understandable, but import of the finished goods and the goods of the daily use is something where I think a lot of introspection needs to be done. We have to see why our manufacturing is not competitive, and he urged the state that you also look into making the manufacturing more competitive and attract the investment. So probably we are moving into multiple direction, and I think the idea would be that in times to come, we have to have greater self-reliance. We have to reduce our dependence on imports, probably on the focus on quality goods. Not only the Indian consumer will be benefited, but probably we will be getting a better market access also for the products, because if producing goods at a quality with a quite competitive cost, the world market will be open. And I think all these reforms and all these now announcements are coming at a most appropriate time where we are seeing huge headwinds in the global trade. It's not just the issue of the tariff war. We have seen Russia-Ukraine war, Red Sea crisis, rising protectionism, Israel-Hamas conflict. And therefore, in the recent time, I'm not looking into any increase in the global trade. And if the global trade takes a hit, probably we have to find some way of absorbing some of the goods in the domestic market. And with the vibrancy which has been introduced by GST 2.0, I think those goods can be absorbed into market without hitting the prices.
Mr. Sanjay Kumar Singh, coming on to you, when we talk about Atmanirbharta or self-reliance of India, India is also bidding to become a developed nation by the year 2047, and we are also aiming to become the third largest economy, and we have made a huge progress when we talk about the economy and its prowess. Now, how is it, according to you, coming together at a very perfect time, because we are doing a lot when it comes to becoming self-reliant, a huge push to different sectors of the society which is much needed, including the farmers, the women. How do you think this is all falling into place at a very correct time and giving a huge push to India's vision, India's dream of becoming a developed nation? Mr. Singh.
India as a confident and fast developing economy has been recognized by one and all. Even when Trump has imposed the such tariffs, there are people out there, and from all sections of people in fact who were initially opposed to India, they are also talking about India's resilience and India's courage and conviction to stand on its own. Under these circumstances, Prime Minister is stressing on two things: A, self-reliance, and B, increasing on consumption. GST reforms, the present set of GST reforms addresses both. To do that, he also needed certain kind of political will, and this government has that kind of political will. And Mr. Modi's, since the time he came in, there are two things which is hallmark of this government: speed and scale. Unfortunately, one very when you began asking, and the Prime Minister also mentioned about movement of goods from one state to another, one district to another. Agricultural reform, 3 bills that were ultimately withdrawn were a step in this direction. Unfortunately, there was great deal of politics, misinformation, and also several other factors. And because of that, those bills were withdrawn. Had those three bills been converted into law today, the picture would have been very different. Even as we speak, there are tweets from opposition leaders prior to Prime Minister's address to nation, and after that, which with some ways they try and divert the attention from the real issues and make some commentary which is actually not required. Under even with or without that, Prime Minister has a deep kind of conviction. He has vision and also the resolve to make things implemented on the time that he chooses. Uh, this comes on Navratri. As we know, if you look at morning newspapers, they are full of several ads which announces price cuts of products of all kinds, middle class in particular. For students also there is good news. For people like us also there is good news. And for people in rural areas, there are good news. This comes at a time when generally buying in each household increases. From Diwali to Dashara, this is festival season which lasts about 20-25 days. If we count from now, this lasts about a month. If you include Chhat, this goes to about a month and a half. So this is perhaps the most appropriate time when he has implemented this. Also, to have it successful, we also have to remember that we have developed that kind of IT infrastructure that we can implement it and have that implemented on the ground.
So India is not only celebrating Navratri from tomorrow onwards, but the Bachat Utsav too. Coming on to you, Aditya Srivastava, who is joining us from Bhopal, DD India correspondent. Aditya, what are the sentiments of the stakeholders there in Bhopal once this Bachat Utsav begins from tomorrow onwards?
People are very excited because as we know that Bachat Utsav will be start from tomorrow. Prime Minister also appealed with the state governments to encourage the policies, to encourage the investors ease of doing business process. So as we know that 4 to 5 days ago on the Prime Minister's birthday, September 17th, he also laid a foundation stone of PM Mitra Park at Madhya Pradesh, Dhar. This is the very good example for Swadeshi. You know, this PM Mitra Park also a 5F technique, farm to fiber, fiber to factory, factory to fashion, fashion to foreign. So Prime Minister had also give an example in this address that how the product made in India and the product goes to the Europe and the product come again from India and how the product cost will be increased. So this PM Mitra Park concept, type of concept are also a good example for Swadeshi. Government of Madhya Pradesh is also taking a good initiatives for encouraging the investor. So this process is also very important for Madhya Pradesh. Madhya Pradesh has also set a good example for these kind of states for how to work for ease of living, how to work for the people of state. So the Prime Minister's this message is very important for not only people of Madhya Pradesh but also people of all over the country.
Coming on to you, Mr. Anil Padmanabhan, since we are just few hours away from the Bachat Utsav and the next gen GST reform as we call it, for the benefit of our viewers, please help us understand that how is it going to very deeply benefit the women and the youth of the country?
See, first, let's understand what is the GST tax. It's a fundamental pivot in the way it is imposed. It's a consumption tax, so it's imposed at the retail level. Earlier, prior to GST, you had the excise and other range of taxes, which are all production taxes, so which led to a cascading impact on the eventual consumer. So the one way that all consumers are going to benefit, including women, is the reduction at the retail level, particularly because, like the PM said, 99% of the commodities are now in a lower tax slab of 18% and 5%. That is one way they benefit. Second, that we must also understand that don't see this in isolation. Over the last, say, 11 years, this country, which the PM alluded to, has solved the problem of abject poverty, pulling almost 25 crore people out of poverty. But more importantly, it has provided the 50 to 60 crore people in this country with gas connections, electricity, and all these other basic material benefits, which should have been there, say, decades back. But okay, it took time, but it was put in place. So when you see there is now a material basis, a fundamental foundational improvement in India's material basis, to add to that, you have a reduction in taxes. These two combine to create a much better environment for consumption, including women. So a lot of these changes that have taken place, whether it's gas, electricity, toilets, are all impacting women. So even simple apps that have now been created, delivery apps like now Blinkit and so on, Zepto, etc. What do? The ease of living for women, particularly those running households, has improved, or even for men running households, has improved. So there are many ways in which there's an ease of living that is we are beginning to witness. The only gripe that we can have is we should have much more.
And now coming on to you, Mr. Ajay Sahai, many of the traders call Prime Minister Narendra Modi as the architect of New India's economic revolution. But we would like to know it from you that how this tax slabs, because earlier in trading it was like 4 tax slabs and now it has been reduced to 2. How is it going to simplify and give a huge boost to more trading solutions and give an impetus, a fresh impetus to self-reliance India with a deep focus on Atmanirbharta, which is self-reliance and the Make in India campaign?
In fact, the very fact that instead of 4 slabs, primarily we have 2 slabs, though of course we have a slab of 40% for demerit goods. The reduction in number of slabs leads to lesser of the classification dispute. It makes the entire return filing extremely easy for any trader, any compliance point of view. Those who are going for the refund, they can get the refund very quickly because the disputes are not much. So probably if you are looking into the development of the system also, this helps a lot. And globally, we are seeing that countries have moved towards a single GST or the single VAT. Probably we are moving into that direction, but I still feel that for a country like India, a single tax will be a little distant away, but probably in a year to 2 years, we may look into a 2-tier GST. And from the perspective of any trader, when 90% or more of goods is at 5%, he hardly have much challenges. And probably with these kinds of reform coming in, the tax consultant which may be required by the small scale companies will come down drastically, because you yourself can determine which slabs your goods are falling. If you are going for the inverted duty structure with a very robust mechanism where 90% of the refunds will flow to you automatically, and that will expedite the liquidity also at the end of the trader. So from the whole architecture of the indirect taxes, this is going to be a game changer, and we are now going to look into a very uniform, efficient and transparent mechanism which has been developed by GST 2.0 into the country.
And when we talk about the game-changing initiatives, we've seen themselves. And Aditya just told us about the key initiatives launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Dhar itself. Aditya, from Gujarat's E-Vitara to Mitra Park in Dhar of Bhopal, how do you see the revolutionary progress India is making across all the states, benefiting, not only involving all the states as Prime Minister Narendra Modi just mentioned in his address, but also ensuring that each of the state gets its own share of benefit? Aditya.
Yes, if we talk about the PM Mitra Park also, you know that the 18 districts of Madhya Pradesh grows cotton around 6 lakh hectare, producing, the 24 lakh ton annually. So the Dhar and these 18 districts are tribal area. So when PM Mitra Park will work, will be continuously, so the employment will also generate more than 3 lakh people will got job opportunities. 1 lakh people got direct job opportunities. 2 lakh people will got indirect job opportunities. So this PM Mitra Park, only the concept is that how we can improve the economy, how we can boost the economy of ground level, on state level. So the Prime Minister, this will be a first when work will be start from Madhya Pradesh. All over the across the country, there are 7 PM Mitra Park will be established established in all over the country. So the Prime Minister also emphasized that the local the things, that the vocal for local, how the districts produce the things, how to districts produce a product, and this the products will be, and products are how to goes to the foreign. So this will be help for Atmanirbhar Bharat. The Prime Minister will Prime Ministers also take a the big task for 2047. So Viksit Bharat. This initiatives will also helpful for the Viksit Bharat, not only for Viksit Bharat, but also to change the sector of textile sector, agricultural sector, these kind of all sectors.
And now coming on to you, Mr. Singh, when we talk about all these sectors, all these very important pillars of India, and especially the new India, the new Bharat, when we talk about, Prime Minister Narendra Modi in his address also talk about tourism and how it is going to benefit not only the tourists but the hotel sectors as well because of the simplification of the new GST next gen reform, because they will also be celebrating the Bachat Utsav. How do you see this development for the tourism sector specifically?
The change in tax slab changes for everything. He mentioned about hotel, you go to a restaurant. Earlier you had 18%, then it was reduced to 5% in most of the restaurants. Then you also travel by, you take a cab, you take a bus, you take everything. There was, and there is tax on anything and everything. When the tax slab changes, and when you have more money in your pocket, some saving, then you tend to actually spend because India has become aspirational. And when you are aspirational, you tend to see things and you aspire for more. Going on a holiday is one of things, one of those things. If you look at whole gamut of things, India from in 2010, 2014, when Modi said, "Aap chale na chale, desh chal chuka hai." And from that philosophy, when people thought the kind of burden of expectations this government had was perhaps too much to carry on whatever things that they wanted to do, PM Modi then that took as a blessing, not as something as liability, because it is ultimately the people who are driver to these things. And with what he talked about tourism, India has tremendous tourism potential. People are traveling a lot than they were traveling before. And you have some money in your pocket and some saving at the places where you reach. Then, of course, that sector is going to rise.
And also when we talk about the rise of different sectors, one of the important pillars of this next gen GST reforms is the simplification of filing through the help of technology that the government has also focused on, and it stands as a very important pillar. Well, how important is it for the stakeholders? Please help us understand, Mr. Padmanabhan.
See, the thing is, the best example is the income tax filings. So they have become faceless, and there are random audits. So it's not as compared to the earlier regime where it was not faceless and there was always a worry of harassment, etc. So now, presumably, this new GST framework is transiting to that era. It's not yet faceless at all. It'll take some time because please remember, this GST is not a union government initiative. It's a collective initiative, involves the states as equal stakeholders. So you also need the state bureaucracy to fall in line with this vision of, say, a faceless assessment of somebody's tax filings. But definitely, like the FIO gentleman explained, because they've reduced the slabs, they've reduced the scope for conflicts, and also because we've lowered them to such a level where the challenge and the disputes become less, and also the classifications. If you remember the famous incident with popcorns, that because they were classified as caramel or salted or something other flavor, each had a different rate. Same way, if you booked a ticket in a movie hall, you paid for online along with the snacks, you paid a different tax. Whereas, as opposed to physically buying it at the movie store. Now, all this they have corrected it to a large degree, which again reduces disputes over classifications. So gradually, they are moving to a system. Eventually, I presume and I hope, like the income tax regime, which is pretty flawless at this point, in the sense particularly from the income tax payers point of view. But it's all a work in progress, but we must appreciate the work that has been achieved so far.
That's very much true. We should appreciate, and we must appreciate the achievement that India has finally, come up at a stage when India is currently at a stage with one tax, one reform with the next gen GST reform. Coming on to you, Mr. Ajay Sahai, when we talk about the various opportunities and we talk about the celebration of Bachat Utsav, and when we talk about the various scopes that the industries are going to touch upon, how do you see the progress of the trading sector with this particular initiative? Because trading sector, economy are interrelated, are correlated, and trading sector has a lot to give to India's economy in order to become a developed nation and the third largest economy as well across the world.
In fact, if you are looking into the fact that government is taking a hit of around 46,000 crore by way of the GST reduction, which translates to roughly more than 20% of the GST collection. And that comes with the hope that probably with the more sale, more supply happening, government will be able to recover the loss, may not be in immediate next 2 to 3 months, but in a very short point of time. That means the government GST rationalization is based on the assumption that businesses will be expanding. If the businesses will be expanding, definitely traders are likely to gain a lot. Secondly, also with the simplification coming in, the cost of doing business for the businesses, particularly the small one, will come down. As told by my previous speaker, probably the days are not far when we will have auto population of the input tax credit, and maybe the return also what we are getting right now in the income tax, where your ITR in a way is self-populated, you only verify and that do it. If that is the stage which will get into the GST also, look into how much is the compliance reduction which trader will get. I think we have to look into the entire process on which the GST is built is not only on the trust, but probably using the technology where trust automatically comes. So we've had the integrated technology which is flowing. Probably the GSTN has done a wonderful work. And these are the work which is in progress. Whenever you're dealing with the technology, it's a disruptive one, and the new technology has to be there where you need to cope in. So the short point which I'm making is that traders will have a very good sense out of this GST, because with the business expanding, their business will grow, their compliance costs will come down. There are other benefits which will also flow to them as a consumer, because they will also be saving when they are spending. So probably this will all culminate into a very positive factor for all the traders as well.
So Aditya Srivastav, does that mean that relief, simplification and growth for all is ensured with a 360-degree approach, pitching in vocal for local, pitching in Atmanirbhar Bharat or self-reliant India, and also in India's push to become a developed nation by the year 2047? Aditya?
Yes, regional appeal is very important. So, Madhya Pradesh produces so much regional products. Madhya Pradesh is also very rich in the tourism. Madhya Pradesh is also very rich in the medicine sector. These sectors are very, got a game changer time through this GST reform. If we talk about the medicine sector, Madhya Pradesh, the contribute around 20 to 30% of India export in medicine sector. So the medicine sector is will also benefited through this GST reform. Madhya Pradesh is very rich in the tourism sector, so the local economic activities will be benefited through this GST reform. Those tourists who came who will come in the Madhya Pradesh, in the hotel sector, if we are stay in a hotel, around 1,000 to 7,500 will become around the 5% tax. Not as we know earlier that 12% rate GST rate is applicable till now. So from tomorrow, only 5% tax will be applicable on the hotel rates. Medicine sector is also benefited. Startup sector, startup ecosystem is very good in Madhya Pradesh, especially in the Indore. There are a lot of startups are there. So these startups will also get some the tax rebates from this GST reforms and also income tax reform.
All right. Thank you so much, Aditya, for joining us. Thank you so much, Mr. Sanjay Kumar Singh, Mr. Anil Padmanabhan and Mr. Ajay Sai for joining us and bringing us top highlights and key understandings on the next-gen GST reform or the Budget Utsav kick-starting from tomorrow onwards. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from the country and the world on the mobile app. Thank you so much for joining us right now. Namaskar.